everyone. This is Lee The Appraiser for another episode of the world-famous Amazing Appraising, taking place here in New York City at the APR 57 Gallery. So for all of you that haven't heard of us before, our show is primarily based on unusual appraising of various collectibles. Basically, we have about 40 years of experience in buying, selling, and appraising anything of value. Really, we cover everything except for real estate. So we collect and handle rare coins, jewelry pieces, rare stamps, rare envelopes, autographs, paintings, furniture, sterling silver, flatware, any items marked Tiffany, Cartier, rare glass, sculptures, anything that you may imagine, Judaica, anything that you may imagine, we handle. I'm not going to mention right now because we're still in negotiations, but we had a gentleman who was a producer for one of the most famous radio hosts in the world who recently passed away, and he offered us a lot of very unusual items that were owned by this famous radio personality. So we're in the process of evaluating and appraising those items as well. So we are offering our services, informative, hopefully entertaining. So if you have anything that you wish to have evaluated, appraised, researched, we're the people to come to, and I'm happy to offer our knowledge and experience in pursuing those goals. So today we're going to talk about just a couple interesting things that happened this week and discuss a couple interesting items that we have come across, and some just ideas, generally speaking, about collectibles in general. So one of the principles I want to inform everyone that, when people call us up and they show us things, especially when they call us, we want to get a sense of what they have, and as quickly as possible, does it have any value? What is the potential of the value? Et cetera, et cetera. So a big mistake that most people make is that they assume value is related to the age of the item. Now, it is true that many items that are very old are very valuable, but it is also very, very true that many items that are very old are worth very little and close to worthless. Okay, so what I want our audience to think about is the fact that if you have old pennies that are 100 years old, that really doesn't ascertain any value to the item, because the items primarily are valued by supply and demand. So typically, the more common or least expensive the item might be, typically the more quantity is out there. So it is very common to have these ancient Roman and Greek coins today, made out of copper primarily, that if you went to Egypt, ancient Israel, Rome, Greece, you will find these old, we're going to call them the equivalent of pennies today. They would be copper typically, and they would be the lowest form of currency that was at that time. So it's equivalent of a penny. And they literally dig out tens of thousands every day from the ground, because that's how common they were years ago. And so unless there's something rare about them, or unless they're in exceptionally beautiful condition, which is quite difficult to find because they're literally thousands of years old, they typically do not have much value. And their value could be as low as $5 to $10, even a few dollars if they're in poor condition. So that's a very important thing that everyone should remember, that all values are based on supply and demand, and it's relative to the condition of the coin typically. So something that is common still, if it's in perfect condition or very fine condition, it could still be valuable. But in poor condition, and even though it's very old, it doesn't necessarily mean it's valuable. And when we quiz people and ask them over the phone if they say they have some coins that are, or they have a common thing is they'll tell me they have a sewing machine, they'll have a appliance, they'll have, and I'll say, well, why do you think it's valuable? And they'll go, well, it's very old, or it's in very fine condition. But either of those answers are not good answers for us, unless, of course, it's a rare item. So if it's a rare item that's in extremely fine condition, if it's a rare item that happens to be old, it could have a lot of value. But it's not going to have value based on the fact that it's just old. So that's a very important thing that people should remember. So you could have ancient coins that are thousands of years old that could be worth only $5 or $10. And then, of course, you could have coins that have only 5, 10, 15 years old that, if for rare, they could be in the error, they could be very heavy, made out of solid gold. For whatever the reason might be, they could be worth tens of thousands. So, again, as a general rule, older things are typically scarcer and more valuable. But just because it's old, if that's the only criteria it has, it's typically not going to be of much value.